out of in-class exercises this week
Okay.
because I've been trying not to go so long. So I have less. But if you want more, just tell me and I'll add more next time.
3 hours.
I don't know about that, Zarek. They might come after me. All right. Who wants? These are all just translation. So these are all just translation. Straight from the New Testament. I tried to find examples that were really close to what we have in the textbook. If you see something you're like, I've never seen that before, like, just hit me up. I try to be very careful. But okay, who wants to take number 1? Estin Hanamas. This is kind of a simple one, but
I feel like it is the law.
that's possible, yeah.
Okay.
Or just the law?
The law is.
The law
Yeah.
is okay.
This was finding one with Namas was kind of challenging. So this was a little tricky. Okay, good job. Number 2, Estin ta evangelion tes basileus. Who wants to take number 2?
The good news of the kingdom. And then, where do you stick? It is. It is the good news of the kingdom.
There you go.
There
you go.
Okay.
Well, that would get so
There you go. That's actually like a lot of times in the New Testament, that's how you're going to figure out. You'll just like read all of it and be like, how does this, oh. It can only come over in English in one way. I'm actually going to institute a new rule though. Whenever you volunteer, you got to read the sentence. I'm going to make that a new rule. Okay, number 3.
Oh,
Oh, actually-
first.
Okay, Zarek, you got number 3.
Weos Etal Thou. Is it the Son of God?
Well, let's stop. When you're translating, I remember we talked about this last week. Let me refresh everyone. The first thing you want to do is start with your verb. What verb is this? What do we have?
Oh, you.
Right, we have
You are.
second. And let's parse it. Give me the parsing on it.
Okay, so it's it goes non-genitive, right? Genitive.
Well, that would be the noun. What about this verb? What's our parsing on the verb? So remember, we got Amy, Esteem. We've got our
Singular.
we do not. Okay, good.
I'm trying to remember parsing.
Okay, parsing with verbs. We will want the person.
First, second, or third.
Yeah, person, number, and then we want the tense, and then the lexical form. So, in a particular case, we'll go back up to Estin, right? Estin is a present indicative third person singular from Amy. So that's what Estin would be. Amy would be a first person singular or present indicative. It's not an active. There will be present active indicative, but the to be verbs are just indicative for now. So in this case, what would the parsing be? So remember, we need the person. You said it was second, right? So you.
Yep.
And then it's singular.
Singular.
And so what's our tense?
Tense.
And you can use your textbook, I don't care.
The present.
Present. And then is it indicative or some other mood? You only know the indicative.
I don't know. Indicative.
Yeah. And then what's the basic verb form, the lexical form?
I mean, that seems pretty. It's the same, right?
Right, but when you find it in the dictionary, what would you find? It's going to be your first person singular form.
First person singular. It'd be a.
Like in English? Is that what you're looking for?
No. So lexical form.
Oh, the lexical
The
form.
lexical form will always be the one that
Yeah.
you would find in the dictionary.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, so like with a word.
so if you were to look up a, if you want to know what's the root word of a,
Yeah.
it's
So it's gonna be the first person
Amy.
singular.
That's the worst
Amy.
word.
Amy. Oh, Amy. So the lexical is just like the first in the bunch, like for the plural
Yeah.
would be Espen.
The lexical form of every verb will always be your first person singular, present active indicative. Yeah, that's probably something I should have told you. Sorry, Zarek. My bad. So in this case, we have a second. Actually, I'll do this the way you're supposed to do it. So we have a present indicative second person singular coming from Amy. And so then we can translate that as you are. So we have huios, a tu theou. Huios e tu theou. So how would you translate that?
So to is of, or is it for? It's like
It's
of.
of, so it is a genitive.
So you are the son of God.
Correct. Outstanding. Good job. Good job. And thanks for being a guinea pig when we talked about parsing.
So pleased.
All right. Who wants to handle number 4? Adam, go ahead and read it in Greek for us, and then give us your translation.
Estin ta ergon tu theou.
Yep.
It is the work of God.
Swell. Perfect. Perfect. And Adam, can you parse that verb for us? Oh, nobody escapes unscathed just because you got it
That
right.
was just a him question, not me.
Oh, it's a you question.
Okay, so estin comes from the root word emi, which would be, in this case, it's singular, third person, nominative present,
Nominative?
or indicative present.
There we go.
That's it, right?
So third person singular, present indicative from a he. It, he, she.
Oh yeah, it is. In
You
this
know,
case,
in this
it
case,
is.
it is. Yep. Yep. Because you could just say like the work of God is, but then we don't have the rest of the sentence, so it just kind of doesn't seem.
Well,
likely.
So could I have translated that?
You said
Can
it
you go
is
back,
the
please?
work of God.
Scroll back
so.
down.
I don't remember what I said actually.
Could I have translated it as the work is of God?
Oh, that's actually possible.
Yeah, 'cause
That is
it's
possible.
Genitive. So.
Yeah, the genitive would be modifying that. It is certainly possible. It's less likely in this case, but yeah, I would probably. There are going to be constructions like that. So yes.
That's why I have so many translations.
Like, well, usually like this, the overall context will make it pretty clear.
Yeah, I get it, but, okay. So
Um,
just looking at the narrow,
Yeah, 5. Ergon, namu esin. Who wants to take numero 5? We've got 2 that haven't gone so far, and then my wife escaped. She's like, I hope for she to run down the clock. We'll save one for Ashley if she doesn't make it back in time. Oh, she's not getting off scot-free. All right.
I'll go.
You'll go, Dan? Okay, I was getting close to calling on someone.
Okay,
I was trying to
so
save you, but you didn't want to take me.
a scene is, let's parse that first. It's present indicative, plural, third person.
Correct. And what's our lexical form?
Amy.
Yeah, it won't always be this easy. They're all the same. All right.
So, let's see. Oh my goodness.
This one's a little trickier.
Let's see. So, I'm gonna try it. They are the works. No, they are of works of the law.
They are of works of the law.
Yeah, it's best.
That's good.
They are works of it.
You could say they are works of the law, but I think it's they are of works of the law.
They are of works.
Because we have the ergon here in the genitive plural, we have nomos here in the genitive singular. So I think you're right, Dan.
Okay.
Why is it sometimes, like, at least in the homework, when there's an estin, or sorry, astin?
Acene.
Or acene? Yeah, sorry. Like, sometimes they write it out, and sometimes it's just implied.
Yeah, that's because Greek can utilize what are called verbless clauses.
So could this be just works of the law, or does it have to be a they or a?
Well, since these are, you have in this case, we've got a pair of genitives, right? We've got a genitive plural here, we've got a genitive singular here. So we know that whatever relationship these two words have, you know, this is gonna be, ergon is gonna be like, you know, of whatever this
Yeah.
is. And so we have our implied subject, which Dan brought out, they, right? They are. And then now we have to ask ourselves, they are what? Well, what's our predicate? The only option for a predicate is ergon namu. So they are works of go. I'm really intelligent.
Okay.
So in this particular case, you are going to have times where a scene is implied, it's implicit, where a sentence can occur where there is no verb. Paul does this all the time, or he just doesn't put a verb in his sentence. And so you have to figure out what verb is he implying, because Greek can do that. Actually, many ancient languages can. And English can imply verbs too. We just don't think about it.
Can they imply like punctuation, like commas and stuff?
That's more difficult to answer, mostly because ancient Greek didn't have commas, and it didn't have punctuation at all. So the Greek New Testaments that we use today have punctuation added. Because to kind of answer your question, yeah, in a sense, like, think about what, the end of a sentence, like a period, right? Greek wouldn't have something that tells you the sentence is over. So you'd have to logically deduce it from just reading, but a Greek speaker would know, right? They would know this. Like when I'm talking to you, I don't end my sentence by saying period, right? You know my sentence is over. And so they would have been, they would have been the same way, right? They would have known that. So to answer your question, Zarek, basically yes. They didn't have punctuation marks to distinguish these things, but they implied the same ideas.
If we're number 6 after Christ.
Okay, so now we have 6. Who has not gone? We've got 2 people on the right side of the class.
I haven't gone.
Is that your way of volunteering, Nola?
Sure.
All right, number 6, read it in Greek and then give me your translation.
O Christos, O Theos, Tau Theo.
Let's read that together.
Yeah.
A, ha Christos, ha huios, tu theou.
There we go. That's how you say it. So, A would be you, so it's first person, second person, singular, of a me.
And what's our tense?
Or tense, present.
Yep.
Indicative.
Good job. Nola, gold star.
Sure. Sure. So it's you are the Christ or the Messiah, the Son of God, right?
Outstanding. Outstanding.
Yeah.
Yep. I think in this case, like, it kind of,
So
there
with
is a,
with the of God part, it's not of the God, right? Even though, because that from last time it was the
yeah, in this case with theos in the New Testament, almost every time you're going to see the article there with God, and you just don't translate that in English.
Okay.
Because it has again, the article can do more than just make it the. So if you wanted to bring it over, it'd be less the God and more the God. That's more of the idea.
Capital T,
Yeah.
big God.
Can God be like tu theou? Could that be masculine and gendered?
It's just masculine, grammatically. Yep, the noun itself is just a masculine declension noun. And so, like, remember we talked about the difference between, morphological gender and syntactical or semantic or syntactical gender, where, like, you have the actual form of the word conforms to the gender paradigms. That doesn't always overlap into this is really specifying a masculine or feminine or neuter entity, right? Sometimes it does. Like love, agape, is just love. It's not female love. There's not a masculine love. There's not agapas out there, right? But then you have other things like, Adelphos is brother and Adelpha is sister, right? You'll see this more clearly with adjectives, where adjectives can take any number of the gender endings. But the upshot is they take the same endings you're learning now, so you should recognize it. In this case, you've got like the classic verse 6, or 6 here, it's worth talking about. Ha Christos ha huios tu theou. How do we know which one's the subject? Well, we have a proper noun, right? Son is generic, and so we know it's being modified by theou, because theoretically, it is not impossible that this genitive could be modifying Christos. It's just very unlikely. So the genitive is most likely going to modify what's closest to it. That's just a typical rule of thumb.
Isn't both Christos and Theou, aren't those both proper
Right.
nouns? So how do you know which one would be the more like this, the nominative subject?
Just because this one's in the genitive case.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So that's how you would know, because otherwise, yeah, it would be a kind of a tangled mess.
Okay.
And there are reconstructions out there that will fill you with sadness that have just loads and loads of nominatives. That's because nominatives can modify each other. One is called apposition, but you need not worry about that now.
Oh, boy.
All right, the only person who has not translated a sentence yet
I did.
is what? Oh, you translated the
I
first
did the
one.
first one. Don't pick on me.
Oh man, I lost my opportunity. Oh, you're gonna do it anyway. Huh? Number 7.
So it's anthropos Amy. So Amy would be the first person singular present indicative.
Look at that.
And so it would be I am man.
Can we smooth that out a little bit in English?
I am a man.
There you go. Yep.
Okay.
I am a man. Yeah, some of these I had to seriously remove parts of the rest of the sentence to make it understandable. All right.
I always get confused with hamartia and hamer.
And I did provide in some of
Yeah.
these a little bit of extra help. So who wants to take number 8? Dennis does. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, hamartia estin me anomia. Okay, and I would say it is, let's see, sin. Hamartia is sin. Estin. Sin is lawlessness, it is lawlessness.
So sin, it is lawlessness.
Sin is, it is law, yeah, sin is lawlessness.
Sin is lawlessness. Yeah, I was gonna say how we smooth that over in English. You
Yeah.
got it right. Yep. Sin is lawlessness. Yep.
Okay.
In this case, you could say lawlessness is sin, but I think like logically we know that that can't be what the Bible means because sin is, more of a broad encompassing category. But so logically, yeah, sin is lawlessness. So, all right, who wants to take number 9? You do? Okay, yeah, take it away.
So sin is present indicative.
Be seen.
Is seen, thank you. Third person, plural. And so it's ecclesiae, a scene, and they are the church.
Close. What ending do we have here on ecclesiae?
Churches.
Correct. So, what's the translation?
They are the churches.
They are churches, they are the churches, but the context was determined. In this case, say they are churches, just
Okay.
generally. I think that's fine. Okay, who wants to take
Oh.
the challenge question? This is our last one, so we'll actually finish only a little bit after 9 for once. But I'm happy to stick around and answer any questions afterwards as well. So, who wants to take our challenge question?
Gear.
Gar.
Gar. Yeah, gar.
Oh, you started sounding it out,
Yeah.
Zarek. Do you want to take the question? You don't have to.
I don't know what gar means, but
That's why I tell you.
oh, for because
It's a conjunction.
I don't know what another word is. I'll try.
And then the 2 Sabbath
Sabbath,
2 at the
sorry.
end is Sabbath genitive. I supplied that for you too.
Alright.
This is the challenge question. You get this, you actually get a gold star if you get it right.
Thank you.
And importantly, so are you gonna tackle it, Zarek?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Alright. Krios, gar, estin, tau,
2,
2,
2,
sabatu, oios,
huios,
huios, and anthropo. So there's S10, which is third person indicative. It's singular, and it's addictive or whatever. How do you say it?
Indicative.
No, like the number. There's noms and the like at the bottom additive.
Not like in case or plural singular?
Like case.
Oh, case. Which one?
Estin, added.
Eston does not have a case.
It's not a case.
It'll have a tense.
Okay, so. Okay,
And all my parentheses added, they're kind of make this a little awkward, so.
okay, so Kurios is like Lord, Master, Sir. So, Lord, for they are of Sabbath, of the Sabbath. Lord, for they are of the Sabbath. The Son of the Son of Man.
Son of man, okay. Alright, so we've got our verb, right there. Actually, let me give me your shot at your translation, and then we'll talk.
Okay, so
This one's tough.
okay, so
mixed up.
Yeah. It's meant to be tough.
okay, so Lord, let me say this. Lord, for they are of
Remember,
the Sabbath.
Esti. Esti was singular, so
Oh,
not
yes.
they.
So
So
it
be he,
is.
she, or it.
So Lord, for it is the Sabbath. The Son of Man. For it is Sabbath, the Son of.
Let me give you a hint. Remember we talked about figuring out the subject in these constructions, right? One of the things that will give it away, one of the indicators, is which nominative has the article. So that will help you a lot if you identify what's the subject of esteem.
What is the subject you said?
Yeah, what is the subject? So who is what here is the question you should be asking. Remember, the article can tell us what the subject of the sentence is sometimes in the nominative when you have two nominatives.
Is it Lord or Sabbath?
Sabbath's the genitive, so we know that's not the subject.
Is it Lord?
Lord
Doesn't have an article.
Lord doesn't have an article. So which nominative in this sentence does have an article?
Is it?
Take your best shot.
Wheels. So
Okay, you're right, that one does. So why don't we start here? We have ha huios, and then we know what's modifying huios, don't we, right? You already got that right.
Yeah.
So we know the Son of Man, that's our subject. So, if you're writing that in English, you would write, and also just generally, you're always gonna, with words like gar, you're almost always gonna begin your sentence with that. You guys don't know that yet,
So what I put that into the sentence in front.
Yeah.
So the
So
son
we-
for
For the Son of Man
the Son of Man
is,
it is the Sabbath. It's
What
it is
is-
Sabbath.
the Son of Man is what?
The Son of the Son.
So you're close. So you got the Son of Man
The Son of Man
is, oh, why is it? Is, let me start writing it out here. For
Quite the messy sentence.
the Son
It's all mixed up.
Yeah.
of Man,
Super messed up.
and now we know is, and then what other things do we have? We have of the Sabbath, but then we've got kurios here, don't we?
Yeah, it is Lord. The Son of Man is the Lord. Son of Man
Is the Lord.
is the Lord for the Sabbath.
Is it the Lord?
Is
Remember-
the Lord of the Sabbath.
Is the Lord of the Sabbath, that's
Yeah.
right. Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
hard.
It is tough.
That was
Good.
mixed up.
Gold star.
Good job, Zarek.
Excellent work. These are the kind of sentences, though, you're going to run into in the wild, so I thought it was important to introduce you to just the level of complexity, but you did a great job, and I'm glad we got to work through all of that, because this will pay dividends for you later, Zarek.
Okay, so let's say you're reading and you have a sentence that starts, normal, left, right.
Yeah.
But then you get to a sentence in like the middle of it. Do you automatically go to the end if you see that, or do you have to read it all then after you read it?
I would say, for where you're at in the game, probably makes sense to just read the whole sentence and see what's there. Better still, you'll be looking for things like commas, it'll break up a clause, right? So that way you can break down a sentence into smaller bits. And so really what you're gonna be looking for is little groupings of verbs and nouns. And you wanna ask who's doing what with each verb. But generally, a really good idea is, Eric, when you're dealing with a long sentence, identify all your verbs first and parse them. Because then you have an idea of what kinds of actions are going on in the sentence. So that's generally the received wisdom. But one thing I would advise you to do though, if when you start getting better at Greek to the point where you can sit down and actually read a little bit, there are two ways you can practice. The official stance of many Greek teachers is, oh yeah, sit down and just write it out and translate it by hand. I hate that. I would say you're better off just trying to read it on sight and struggling and getting things wrong. Practice the way you're gonna play, right? Like if when people go out to play on the football field in practice, they practice movements and actions and behaviors that are actually gonna translate to an actual football game. That's what you wanna do with Greek. You wanna be able to read it, right? So practice reading. And so in your case, like you'll get used to it and you'll start translating as you go in your brain. Then you'll come across maybe a verb or something later on, and that'll just automatically kind of like plug right in, and you're like, oh, this is what this means. So to answer your question, identify the verbs first, and then try to break things down into bite-sized chunks.
So you can like read this and just be like, oh yeah, it's for the son of Israel.
Yeah, me, yes, I can. Yeah. Sometimes if I run across a sentence I can't read, it's usually for one of two reasons. Number one, the most common is there's vocabulary I don't know. That happens, right? There's 5,000 unique words in the Greek New Testament. I don't know all of them. I probably know 3,000 to 4,000 of them, but that'd be my guess. And then sometimes there's just really tough grammatical constructions. I've read some Greek outside of the New Testament that just like you get into this, you're like, this is the same language. I refuse to believe this. It's just really hard. So, but yeah.
So there's only one verb in that sentence.
Right.
Right? And you also pick up on the subject because of the article.
Yep. So, because you could say, for Lord is Son of Man, for Lord of the Sabbath is the Son of Man, which, you know, like that's grammatically possible. It's just not plausible for a couple of reasons, because the Son of Man is more definite, right? The Son of Man is a specific person in this context. It's Jesus Christ, right? He's identified himself that way. Lord is more of a generic category. It's more adjectival in this particular usage, right? It is a noun, but it's kind of being used to say something about the Son of Man. And so, but the article is one of the great giveaways. Proper nouns, pronouns, and then like, does it have a specific referent versus something more generic? But it's not. But you will get it. You get more and more advanced with Greek. You get into tougher places like, you know, Hebrews, for instance, or Luke or Acts. The grammarians, they do fight sometimes over what they think the subject of the verb is. They do fight. And they fight dirty. They call each other names, especially Stanley Porter. He likes to call everybody names. But
So it's kind of like in this sentence, like the genitive ones are kind of function like just like prepositional phrases, what in English, like they're.
that's a great observation. The genitive does express something that prepositions do in English.
Okay.
And so does the dative.
Right, right.
In this case, you know, this is kind of an interesting, one of the things that makes this a little tough is I have these big excerpts in English, right?
Yeah.
Because really, you know, you have all of these things like all kind of close to each other, right? This makes it a little easier to see, where it's a little more obvious that Sabbatu is modifying kurios. Because there's really no other likely referent. Typically, genitives will follow the thing they modify most of the time. You get some cheeky super wizards of Greek in the ancient world who knew really how to bend the language, but generally that's the normal syntactically. So, yeah, that's the only problem when you supply these things. Some people will like footnote the meaning of the term, and I might do that next time, make it a little easier. So we're done. If anybody needs to go, feel free. If you have any questions, I'm happy to stick around. This coming week, you will get into the present active indicative verbal paradigm.
Sweet.
So you will
Just
learn
what I wanted.
more verbs. And I will try,
waiting for this.
remember on the Daily Dose of Greek website, there is a whole section in there devoted to memory aids. I have linked to that a few times on Discord. I try to post the memory devices too, but there are memory devices for just about every single paradigm you will come across. And I know the songs are silly. I know we're all adults and we're very serious and we can't learn the silly songs, but your life will be a whole lot easier if you don't take yourself seriously and you learn the silly songs. You know, I'm just saying. I still know them all. I learned them all. I drank them into my soul years ago, and now I can shoot Greek out my fingertips. I'm kidding.
What?
Most of the time.
JP, I would really like to do the English to Greek, except I really have to take a break. I gotta pee.
And when you say do the English to Greek, like how much review
In the
time?
homework, it's the 5 sentences.
We can talk a little bit about that. Yeah, I'm happy to stick around if somebody wants to. But like I said, we're done. So I think I've got about maybe another 15 minutes in me. So before I'm done. So
Oh man, it'd be nice if they just like put it, you know, at the front, you know, just all nice and clean.
that's not
That's not how it works.
wait till you meet the Apostle Paul. He likes to just like leave a sentence off, like leave a thought uncompleted in the middle of a sentence. Oh yeah,
I wonder what he was like.
Adam,
Like,
your question.
as a guy, I wonder what Apostle Paul was like.
So anomia and anamos, what's the difference?
Like, you know, anamos would just be like lawless, something without a law, you know, not a law, right?
Oh, it has a prefix.
Anomia is just lawlessness. So there are,
But it's the same meaning, just one is,
well, one is describing kind of like a difference between righteous and righteousness. So righteous is a status, righteousness is a thing.
okay, but basically it's talking about
Same idea. Yeah.
same idea.
Same idea.
Cause I remember in the church I used to go to, they used to make a big deal, like in Matthew chapter 7:21. They used to say like the lawlessness, they used to say like it's anamos, or it's
There's something
anomia,
that's right.
not anamos,
Yeah.
or something like that. As if that made a huge difference in their interpretation of it.
As if they have any idea what they're talking about.
They have no idea what they're talking
Yeah.
about. And when I was looking at it, I'm like, it means the same thing. Like, I don't see where it means anything different. I mean, the idea might be a little, because they basically say like, they said like, anamos means like without, like the old law, like old covenant law. Anomia means without like Christ's law. They make up their own definition.
Right.
But
Whereas John actually says right here that sin is lawlessness. So
Right.
transgressing God's will is lawlessness.
right.
And so that's just like, you know, that's why the Westminster Confession would say that sin is any want of conformity or a lack of obedience unto the law of God.
Right. So if I say anamos and anomia, it's basically meaning the same thing. There's no
Yeah.
real distinct like.
There's no like, they're going to be, they might have some shades of distinction,
Right,
but they're generally,
lawlessness and lawless, but
they're generally
essentially-
talking the same idea, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We can actually, since you're waiting on Dan, unless anybody else has any questions. You'll just ask me questions when we get home. You have access to the teacher. She is the teacher's pet, if you guys are wondering. But she also made breakfast for me this morning, so. He did
That
well.
deserves a gold star.
Yes, it does. Actually gets more than gold stars. I buy her nice things. I'm not gonna buy any of you nice things.
Are you saying that the things that you buy are of greater value than Charles's gold stars?
Absolutely. What do you think? You're the one that gets them.
Yeah.
What sayest thou, O wife of mine? Let's do a word study. Yeah, this is just basically the adjective versus the noun, essentially. I can already tell. You can do it, computer, I believe in you. Nope, I can't zoom in. Alright. Watch this. Yeah, here is the scholarly dictionary for Greek. Yeah. If you disagree with BDAG's definition of a word, you must do lots and lots of heavy lifting in a scholastic fashion to convince the academy. And yeah, anamos is just an adjective, lawless, outside the law. Anomia is just the noun, the actual thing itself. So they mean the same thing. This is just the adjective form.
So did you say one's a verb and one's a noun?
One's a noun and one's an adjective.
Oh, adjective.
Adjective.
So this one's like more modifying.
Yeah. So somebody can be, if they are anamos, they are lawless without the law. Anomia, you know, the difference between anomia and anamos is anomia could be the subject of a sentence, right? It could do something. It's a noun. So, although, to be fair, adjectives can actually be used in a substantive fashion and be used as nouns in Greek, but worry thou not. Okay, so Somebody wants to talk Greek or English to Greek. Talk to me, Dan. What you got for me?
So, the church is the temple of God.
Yes.
How do I know where to put the verb?
Well, the nice thing is it doesn't matter too much.
Okay.
In Greek, word order, that the verb can come in the middle.
Sure.
It can come at the end. It can be at the beginning. So thankfully, well, thanks, Noah.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yes, glad you made it. Always good.
Are you out just next week, or are you back the following week, or?
I will be back the following week, just out this week,
Okay,
coming week.
because I'm thinking, since we're gonna be at my house, there might be baklava.
Enjoy.
And remind me,
If there's any left over, I'll freeze
Save
it
it,
for
save
you.
it for me. Thanks.
remind me to remind everyone in Discord that that's where we're meeting.
Okay.
So what other questions you got for me? Yep, take it easy,
I'll
Noah.
lock the door.
I just
Oh,
did,
thank you.
Oh, never mind.
but yes, you may check me, please check me.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the hard parts of going from Greek to our English to Greek is that, like, in English, word order is how we communicate case.
Yeah.
We don't have endings. We have a handful of, there are some vestigial remnants of a case system in English, but
So, now, would you say this exercise is valuable, just like how you think about it, because you're never gonna actually do this, right?
No.
So for me, I misspelled everything.
yeah, and to me, that's
But-
not a big deal.
Okay.
So the real value in this is that it forces you to understand how the cases and the sentences
Okay.
fit together. Otherwise, how could you produce, for example, the first one, he ecclesia estin, ta hieron tu theou, right? And there's more than one word for temple, actually, in Greek, hanet, I think, haneos or something like that. I forget if that's a hybrid or not. But that requires, the ta hieron tu theou, what do I have to know to say that, right? I have to know the word hieron, I have to know what appropriate article goes in front of it, because I know it's the temple. And then I have to know there needs to be a genitive form of theos, tu theou. And that could also be estin, he ecclesia, ta hieron tu theou. That could come in that order. Or you could say, he ecclesia, ton hieron tu theou estin. All of those are grammatically correct. So, Greek tends to lean towards a verb, subject, object order, but grammarians, they literally will fight each other to the death over what, is it a verb, subject, object? Is it subject, object, verb? Oh, well, they'll literally, is it Semitic influence on the Greek New Testament? Oh man, they go nuts.
Looks like I left off the tau using to theou. Looks like I left off the article on most of the theous. And my order was different than that you translated, which you said is not critical, but.
No, doesn't matter. It's almost irrelevant. It's actually,
But verb, subject, object is,
it's how the language leans. It's not the actual.
okay.
It's
Because
just,
I ended up putting the verb at the end most of the time,
That's
based
fine.
on other things I'd seen in the chapter.
no, it doesn't actually matter.
So
So you can put it at the beginning, you can put it in the middle. When I translate it, it just tends to come across like subject, verb, object, because
That's what English is.
I'm an English speaker.
Yeah.
And that's probably why the New Testament leans verb, subject, object, because Hebrew does. And the speakers, people writing in Greek in the New Testament are Jews.
Yeah.
So,
when I did this, I basically just went through and under each English word just wrote what I thought the Greek would be. So it basically is like the English structure, just with the Greek words. That's okay.
yeah, congratulations, you're a Septuagint translator, because that's basically what happened there.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, with some parts of it. Isaiah, wild. But the Pentateuch is very literal.
Okay.
Generally considered to be a high quality translation, but that is an oversimplification. Yeah, like for example 2, hoi lagoi, teis aletheus, or asin, tu kuri, right?
Why does taste go in front of Aletheus?
I mean, it could just be aletheus. You're
Thank you.
right. It could be that.
Well, no, you translated it that way in the video.
Yeah. Because it's not unusual for the article to make a noun kind of generic. So faith, and then like, you know, pist is the word for faith. If you have the article there, it could just be talking about faith in general, as opposed to like a faith that an individual has. But it doesn't mean like the faith for all time. So again, the article kind of like narrows specificity. You guys are too smart. All the Greek
okay.
students I studied with, we didn't ask these questions. You guys are too good at this. Like,
Well,
I mean that sincerely. You guys
I
are
don't know
asking
about
really
that, but-
sophisticated questions. My fellow Greek students were just scared to death to be there. I wasn't. I was laughing the whole time because I got like 115% in Greek. But
Yeah.
I'm
glad you weren't a C student teaching us Greek.
I had been studying Greek for years before I took it.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I taught myself, and I worked through Plummer's curriculum. Like what I'm having you guys do,
Yeah.
that's how I taught myself.
Oh, okay.
So I already know it works. But you guys are getting the classroom element that I didn't get until I went. But now, taking it in seminary really helped. It ironed out all the kinks in my Greek.
Yeah.
But imagine showing up to Greek class already knowing all the paradigms. It was a good
So Zarek, if you go to seminary,
If you go to seminary, you will have been doing Greek since you were a teenager.
Yeah,
And
buddy.
you will humiliate grown men. that is what will happen. They'll be like, you'll be sitting there like, you know, like just doodling, and Dr. Plummer will ask you a question, you just look up at the board and just read it and go back to doing what you're doing. And all the others, the old guys there who are learning Greek for the first time are gonna be like, literally how? Like, well, when I was homeschooled, I took Greek with JP at Mountain View.
Which is amazing. Thank you for this.
yeah, I
So,
agree.
Okay.
Okay, I mean, you kind of answered my questions about the
Okay.
translation. It's just, it was frustrating to not understand why, when you translated it on the video, and I translated it differently, it just didn't click with me that, I mean, I guess I kind of in the back of my mind, yeah, I heard that you say it didn't matter the order as much, but
It's one thing to like hear that, it's another thing to really believe it.
Yeah.
Because like
Well, I mean,
English
now I
is
will.
so structured,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Even German, like this could sometimes be a source of consternation for the German grammarians and stuff like that. German's it's more plastic than English, but it's very rigid.
yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that'll probably be hard for you guys is like English's verb tenses are very heavy on time, whereas Greeks are not. And so that's where like there are sometimes examples of an aorist verb which is past tense. There are some examples of it being used in future tense contexts or even present, which will, when we get to that level of Greek sophistication, maybe later this year we could talk about that, because that'll get grammarians riled up. Peter Gentry had strong thoughts about that. All right, I think we're done for the day.
Yes, thank you.
Sir.
I'm certainly done.